and this is one of those you're going to want to take notes, because this, we could literally have a debate and a discussion just on this important topic: border security and trafficking. So, the Texas border crisis, which, by the way, federal government, it's real. Illegal drugs, human trafficking, it's all worse than it's ever been. What will you do to ensure that the Texas border is safe and that we put an end to both illegal drugs and human trafficking? And Colonel West, if you'll go first.
Sure. Just last week I was down in Brewster County, Alpine, Texas, talking with the sheriff out there, Sheriff Dotson, Border Patrol agents, and some of the ranchers. No one is talking about what's happening out there in the Big Bend sector, which is far more dangerous than what we see the news media telling us, because out there is wide open. There was 1,254-mile borders that we have here that we share with Mexico. Only 145 miles of the Trump wall have been done. That's where you find the single military-aged males dressed in black, dressed in camouflage uniforms with backpacks coming across the border, terrorizing people there. So one of the things that we have to do, we have to have a command and control system. We have several different sectors: Big Bend sector, Del Rio sector, Rio Grande Valley sector, Laredo sector. We need to have those sectors and task organize our forces that go in there. One of the things that we have not done is effectively use our Texas National Guard, because we are sending them down there. First and foremost, they don't have a good mission. They don't have a good task and purpose. Many of them don't have the ammunition. They're being told not to return fire when the cartels, who are actually transnational, narco-criminal terrorist organizations, I would designate them that, and so that we can go after their financing, we can go after them, because we are fighting a war on our border. We don't have that perspective. If the federal government is going to abdicate their constitutional duty and responsibility, then the Border Patrol and ICE and everyone else will fall under our operational control. That's the bottom line that we have to have. The other thing that we have to do, without a doubt, we have to enable our constitutional law enforcement officers, which are our sheriffs, to be able to have the power to arrest, detain, and deport individuals out of the state of Texas. This is no longer a debatable issue. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution is called the Guarantee Clause. The federal government is supposed to guarantee to every state in the union to protect us from invasion. They're not doing that. Article 1, Section 10, Clause number 3 says what states can do to protect themselves. We've just got to follow the Constitution. The Texas State Constitution says in Article 4, Section 7, one of the duties and responsibilities of the governor of the state of Texas as the commander-in-chief of the Texas Military Department is to repel invasions. I've been on borders, been in Kuwait and Iraq, Iraq and Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. The only way you secure a border is to be on the border, not 30 miles off the border, not staying in hotel rooms, not putting our men and women in harm's way. And the last thing, these non-governmental organizations that are the travel agencies for illegal immigrants, we will revoke their licenses, and we will start taxing illegal immigrants for their remittances that they're sending out of this state. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prather.
Thank you. Well, this isn't the reason. One of the main reasons this election is the most important election in the history of the United States. The border. The federal government's never going to secure the border. The federal government never has secured the border, and when Trump was president, our most courageous president we've ever had, we had the trifecta. Thank you. In Washington, we had the Congress, and the border was still porous. I was on the border committee in Austin when I was in the Senate. I've been in the gunboats up and down the river. I've taken the helicopter tours. I've been to the border multiple times since I got in this election. And my border plan's up on my website. It has been since the second week of May when I announced. Let me set the table for you, as you probably know. But Border Patrol's telling me since the beginning of the year, they've caught illegals from 147 different countries. Over 1.5 million people are going to flood into Texas unapprehended in a 12-month period. I tell you this, because any way you define it, it's an invasion of Texas. This is a premeditated attack on Texas. Texas will be blue because of this. I'm going to finish Trump's wall, and we're going to build it for hundreds of miles, and we'll spend the $4 billion or so we think is necessary to do that. And I can tell you as a businessman, I know this is a good trade because of how much we spend on illegal immigration in this state of Texas. It's about a 1-year payback. But the most important thing I'm going to do is use the United States Constitution. Of course, that's Article 1, Section 10, which clearly gives the states the authority to defend themselves if they're being invaded. I'm engaging the entire Texas military, the entire National Guard. And if that's not enough, I'll be soliciting support from other states. We're not worried about immigration laws. We're going to immediately deport anyone that gets across that river back to the other side of that river and then treat this like an invasion that it is. Patriots, there's 25 bridges over that river. You paid for every one of the roads leading to those bridges. You pay for the maintenance of those roads over those bridges. Let me tell you, we can unmaintain them just as quick as we maintain them. We need to stop, and we're going to stop all inbound commercial traffic from Mexico. This is strategic. This is to make sure that Mexico feels the pain until they secure their side of the river and take it back from the cartels. They are being a very bad neighbor. I love Mexico and I love Mexicans, but I can tell you, I'm going to get done in 30 days what no one else in this country's ever done.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to secure the border.
Your time's up. Thank you.
This is that point in our forums where I always say, ditto. You know, I've done some reading, believe it or not, in recent days. Back in 2017, 2018, there were studies that were done by some eggheads that believe they know mathematics, and they estimated that an open border would bring, and listen to this number, $100 trillion into the economy of the United States. Now, that's an astronomical number, but that's what happens. You know, politicians throw around words like billions and trillions, and we just glaze over and we think big number and we move on. But the big government does believe that the economy will be bolstered and will be boosted by an open border. As I said earlier, we have a big government in Washington, D.C. That's no argument, but we also have a big government in Austin. And I believe that the current governor believes that we're being incentivized monetarily by having an open border. That's why he refuses to do anything about it. Now, we can enforce the laws that are on the books, and we need to. We need to detect, we need to deter, we need to detain. Starting to get a little crowded down there. But we need to deport, and we need to defend. At this stage in the game, we know, as I said earlier, that Washington, D.C. is not coming to our aid. It's on us. We need to declare and reestablish the sovereignty of Texas, treat our borders as precious. I believe it's another reason why the Texit bill honestly needs to be on the ballot. If nothing more than to send a signal to Washington, D.C. that we do mean business. Put up or shut up. Come to our aid or we'll take care of it ourselves. But they're not coming to our aid. And we don't expect them to, and we honestly don't need them to. Article 4, Section 7 of the Texas Constitution says that in this case, the governor of the state can become the commander-in-chief and can call up the Texas State Guard. There is a great constitutional word out there that we feign shock and horror when we hear it. It's called militia. And we need to enable our border sheriffs to be able to deputize these men to go down and build not only Trump's wall, but a human wall. We need to make sure that these cartels are named terrorist organizations, international terrorist organizations, so that we can employ the full might and strength of our fighting men and women against them. It's got to stop. We've got to make sure that when they do transactions at the bank, that there are high percentages of fines against them when illegals try to transact in our banks here in Texas. It seems to be working in other states. Think about how much more it could work here in Texas. Folks, I'm telling you, we are in a crisis here. We have pressure from without and from within. I don't understand when or where or how Haitians learned to walk on water. But they're here and they've been brought here. They didn't wander here, they've been brought here. They've been brought here on purpose. They want to weaken us. We do control the highways and the bridges. If we could figure out how to get enough money, I think we ought to make the Rio Grande into a deep navigable river for trade.
All right, thank
Watch
you,
them cross
sir.
that.
Thank you.